Hey guys, homesteading cheaper by the dozen. Short video here. Actually, it may turn out to be longer, but why an RV is a good idea for off-grid living, cheap living, the whole 9 yards. Several things. When, I don't know if you can see it back there, but when my wife and I had more kids, or combined ours, we got this bus back here, and a little mini bus. It's a Ford, and we planned on putting, because at that point we had a 15-passenger van, we planned on putting a small like porta potty in the back and a place for like a couple bunks and a stove and a small refrigerator and a small sink, just enough to where we'd have a little bit of room to cook and go on the go. And because when you got a bunch of kids, our first trip to the beach, when we went on a family vacation, it seemed like every hour we were stopping and it'd take like 45 minutes for a stop. So it's really super handy to have a bathroom when you got a bunch of kids, and a refrigerator and a stove and things that you can do to cook on the go. But anyhow, we talked about that, and we also talked about buying a full-size school bus and just building like a little RV camper thing out of it. But for the money that you would have to put into just plumbing, electrical, and then you figure you got to have a 12-volt pump, you spending $100 there or more. A water heater's a couple $100. A gas stove would be a couple $100. All the electrical to run everything back and forth, the toilets, the showers, all that stuff. Before long, you'd probably have $5,000 to $10,000. So we started looking for RV, and we found that you can get an old RV if you're not scared to work on them. You can get one somebody's bought and gotten older, and they've let it sit, and the roof started leaking, because they all leak. Every RV that you're ever going to have is going to leak. I'd say somebody could make a killing if they could make a indestructible roof that wouldn't deteriorate over 10 or 20 years and would stand good. So anyhow, we decided to go try for an RV, and God really blessed us, and we found our old RV back there, and we got that. It's a 34 foot. We got that for $1,100, and we did a lot of work on it. It looked really cheesy inside, a really funky paint scheme. We did some wiring, had different things that we had to remodel on it, but we got it in really good shape. The kids actually did most of the remodeling. I told them, hey, if y'all want to go on vacation, y'all have to do the work to get this thing ready to go. So they did really good. And then Caleb and I and Hayden, I think Jacob and Jordan helped out too. We did the tune-up on it, got it all fired up and ready to go. But back to why it's a good idea for cheap living. So you can find one of these things for $1,000, $2,000 in relatively decent shape. We picked this one up just recently for actually 2 days, yesterday, for $700. And I bought this for the drivetrain on it, so we'd have a spare for the other one. It's got 40,000 miles. You can't buy a motor for $700, much less when you're in a bind and need it right away. But if you're looking for, especially like young couples, young people just getting married, even with 1 or 2 kids, and you're wanting like a tiny house idea, most of these old RVs have an onboard generator. This one's got a 4,000 Cummins or Onan generator in it, and right there you're looking at hundreds of dollars to buy a generator that big. And these Onan generators are built to last. They're made to run non-stop and to be tough and to work on. They're not just a cheap throwaway. But so you get a lot for your money if you're willing to do a little bit of work. They're not any harder to work on than a regular vehicle, really. Just need a couple wrenches and a couple sockets and things that are a little bit bigger than what you have to work on your car. But they're pretty cool. If you can get one, you're all set up to live in it, and you want to live cheap, buy a cheap piece of property. You can pull it out there, set it up. If I was doing it just starting out and I was gonna live in one for a bit, I'd definitely build a roof over the top of it. Just a little pole barn that I could pull into, because every one of these things leaks, or is gonna leak. If it hadn't leaked already, it'll definitely leak. But so yeah, anybody that's looking for a cheap way to live, hang out, definitely try out an old RV. And they're, like I said, if you're the main reason I think that they cost so, or they sell so cheap once they get a bit of age on them, is because people are paying an arm and a leg to get them fixed. But most of the things that go wrong on them, anybody with just a little bit of knowledge, the biggest thing is keeping your roof dry, like constant maintenance and checking up on it, making sure your seams are sealed and you get a good quality roof coating and whatnot. If you do that, then you'll get a lot of life out of it. But if not, you can buy one with a little bit of patchwork to do, and it's not the end of the world. So that's our cheap living tip for the day. Y'all have a good evening. We've already started pulling parts off of the new one. We've got our old RV. Caleb and I have been working on it all day, and for the first time since we bought it, we got the generator running.
Front and back AC.
Last
ride this year.
Last summer, it got up well over 100 degrees. Our generator, we had a generator up on the roof of the van that we were towing behind us, and it got to 109 degrees when the generator locked up on us and went out. And with the small generator, we were only able to run one air conditioner. The big generator, that's a 7,000 or 6.8 kW generator in that RV, and it'll run both air conditioners at the same time, probably the microwave and the refrigerator, I'd say. Anything that we want to run. So that's a real blessing. We're definitely looking forward to going to the beach in the heat of the summer with that, now that we'll have some air conditioning. The regular air conditioning for the front end of the truck hasn't worked from the beginning that we got it, and we've not quite figured out what's going on with it. So we'll definitely be blessed to have that. Cheap tip for cheap living for the day. Y'all have a blessed day. Give us some comments and a thumbs up. See you next time.